Hi, Claire here from Wrangle, and today I'm going to walk you through how to make your workflows more dynamic and better adapt them to your processes using features like conditional, steps, and dynamic assignment. First, I'll walk you through dynamically assigning steps to people and creating an optional step based off a numerical value in your form. Then, I'll show you how to adjust due dates for different SLAs using a list question in your form. To start, let's talk about a simple time off request workflow. Here we have a basic intake form where our employee requesting time off is just going to put in their name and the dates they want off. And then we have this manager approval step. Now, the way I have this set up right now is that let's say these three people are all of the managers we have at the company. We're going to assign this step to all three managers, but whenever a request comes in, they all get at mentioned and they all have to take a look at the request and see whether or not the request is from somebody on their team or if it's one they can ignore because the requester is on another team. So, not ideal. Slack is noisy enough. What we can do instead is have our requester tell us who their manager is in the intake form and assign it accordingly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a form question and use select a person, and we'll just do manager name. And now on our manager approval step, we're going to use this people chosen in form option here and manager name. So now, because we have this select a person question, we can automatically assign the approval to the person selected in that form. Let's say we also need additional approval from somebody in senior leadership whenever the time off request is for 5 or more days. So what I can do is I can add a form question. I'm going to use the number input type, not short answer, but specifically number input, and say number of days you want off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a second approval step. We'll call this senior leadership approval. And this one will say Winston is who we want to assign here, but we don't want to ping him on every single request coming in. We only want him to have to sign off when the request is for 5 or more days. So I'm going to use this only run this step under certain conditions toggle. And now we have that number of days you want off intake form question. So if the number of days you want off is greater than or equal to 5, that is when we will run this approval step. If it is for 4 or fewer days, Winston will never see the request. We will just send it to the manager and do it that way. Let's say we also have a shared employee calendar that the managers are responsible for updating whenever somebody is out. What I can do is I can add another step here. I will add a task list. We'll call this update employee calendar. And when we're saying who should be assigned to this task, we can do this one two different ways. We can still use that people chosen in form manager name. So whoever the manager is, assign it that way. Or we can also use this completer of previous step option. Whoever completed the manager approval, we know is the manager. So we could also assign work this way. All right, now let's talk about a different use case. Here I've got a very simple bug reporting workflow where our requester submits a short description of the issue, and then we assign one of our engineers this resolve bug task. But let's say we have different SLAs depending on the bug priority. What we might do is have our engineering manager set the priority. So what I'm going to do is add a form step. I'm going to drag this up to be after the intake form and above our resolve bug step. And we'll just call this prioritize. And we'll assign this to our engineering manager. And we will have him select from a list to set the priority of this issue. I'm just going to start out with low and high. You probably have more statuses than that, but just to start, we'll keep it simple. And so now, let's say we have a 2-week SLA for high priority bugs to be resolved. What I will do is I will change this step name to high, resolve bug high. And I am only going to run this step under certain conditions. Because we're using a list question, we can use that now as the basis for this conditional logic. So I will use if priority is high, then our due date is going to be within 2 weeks or 10 weekdays. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to replicate this task list. We'll use that same resolve bug task. We'll assign that to our same engineer. But this time, because this is a lower priority bug, let's say we have 5 weeks to resolve it. So now the way this workflow will work is our requester gives us the short description of the issue. Our engineering manager tells us what priority it is, and if it is high, then our engineer will start getting late reminders if it's not resolved within 2 weeks. Or if it is a low priority bug, our engineer will get late reminders starting at the 5-week mark. Some other ways you can think about how you might use conditional steps for a bug reporting workflow is for different product areas. Maybe you have a web app and a mobile app and different teams working on either. You might use a list question in your intake form where your requester selects what the product area is and then assign the subsequent steps to the appropriate team depending on what the selection was. So there you have it. There are a couple of simple ways to adapt your workflows to your actual process using dynamic assignment and conditional steps. If you'd like to learn more or if you need any help, visit the support tab in the Wrangle web app. Here you can find our help docs, video library, and you can reach us in 3 different ways. You can schedule a support call, you can email us, or you can live chat with us. Please reach out if you need any help.